Dawit Isaak is an Eritrean-born journalist and author, also with Swedish nationality. He was one of the many people arrested after what's called the G15 letter in September 2001, which Matt's author, Ismail Azrad? Yeah. Emmanuel Azrad was also arrested. A letter was published by 15 leading political figures, members of the Central Committee of the ruling party, suggesting a different approach to the future of Eritrea from that chosen by the president. And this was published by a number of magazines and newspapers, independent ones, not state ones. All the politicians in the country were arrested, all the journalists directly concerned were arrested, none have been released, some have died, and all independent publications were suppressed. Dawit Isaak has been, much of the time, isolated in darkness, yet his voice is still heard, despite the best efforts of the Eritrean ruler. So he was awarded only a couple of days ago the 2017 UNESCO Guillermo Cano World Press Freedom Prize. So how a man imprisoned, often in close confinement and darkness, can still have a voice resounding through the world is what I want to write the poem about. I'm going to start with a quotation, the most recent statement by a government minister, a couple of years ago in fact, about the G15 prisoners. All of them are alive, the minister said. The government is looking for their safety. They're in good hands in prison. They are political prisoners, and the government is dealing with them. How Dawit Isaak lives. Dawit Isaak shut up in darkness. Dawit Isaak alone in darkness. Dawit Isaak confined in darkness. Dawit Isaak unheard and unseen in darkness. Dawit Isaak not forgotten in darkness. Dawit Isaak not forgotten by his ruler. Dawit Isaak not forgotten by his friends. Dawit Isaak not forgotten by his family. Dawit Isaak not forgotten by his 2 citizen lands. Dawit Isaak not forgotten by us here today. Dawit Isaak talks to us here today. Dawit Isaak talks to his 2 citizen lands. Dawit Isaak talks in his silence. Dawit Isaak talks in his isolation. Dawit Isaak talks in his pain and isolation. Dawit Isaak's darkness talks. Once this land had a future. People fought the struggle together, got through the pain with clear hope, a new life made by the people together. All the various voices joined, all the various voices heard, all the various voices talked together, all the various voices lightened darkness, magazines and newspapers lightened darkness. Zemen, Lekale, Kesta Deben, Admas, Tsiganay, Setit, all the words tumbling out like foam, luminous like the sea at night, words various as stars in the sky, words welcoming as lit windows in the night, even the bright lights in the cities of distant Sweden, the words that illuminate a land. Dawit Isaak helped utter these words once. But the ruler said, "We know how to handle his kind. We know how to handle such people. We must waste their lives. We must destroy their lives. We must empty their lives. We must make them live in darkness. We must do this across the land. We must never end with war. War and power must be all we know. War against ourselves is the best. Anyone not fighting against my people, he is the enemy of my people. She is the enemy of my people. They must all say only my words." A new Eritrean vocabulary. taken from the only Eritrean words, mainly in Tigrinya, employed in the UNHRC Commission of Inquiry on Human Rights in Eritrea, 2015, apart from the names of local plants and foods. These, then, are the ruler's and his regime's contributions to the world's stock of words and concepts. Otto, torture position with arms tied tight to the elbows behind the back. Gifa, round up to check identity papers, travel documents, etc., or seize people for national service. Bardo Celeste, 03, as if it were a radio frequency. The Presidential Disinformation Service, or state-sourced rumour mill. Even the ruler knows no one believes the official communications. Ne Hadera, people handed over to the police by security staff or officers from the military or regional administration without their names ever being disclosed or registered. Intsa Se, delicious bite, unofficial payment to secure release of a prisoner. Pharaoh, iron handcuffs with bolts to tighten them as torture. Almaz, diamond, torture position with victims suspended by tied together elbows, just standing on tiptoe. Wasai Yikiaro, heirs of the freedom fighters. Conscripts into the effectively working lifetime compulsory national service, used for forced labour or any government requirements. Demheat, soldiers of Tigray People's Democratic Movement, Ethiopian rebels hosted by the ruler and used by Eritrean regime to oppress its own people and conduct gifas, etc. Minkesakesi, government or military issued pass allowing internal travel, which is illegal without it. Lewit, or Za Lemish, condition which causes the sufferer to only be able to walk backwards, as she is unable to control her legs and walk in a forward direction, and also accompanied by trembling. It appears the consequence of rape and other forms of ill treatment during national service. Berari Tiet, flying bullets, shooting which is claimed as accidental or friendly fire. Hizbawi Serawit, population soldiers. People's Army militia used as guards, which anyone of any age, not serving in the army or in national service anyway, can be compelled to join, thus making up for the loss of young people fleeing the country. Matot, requirement for children of 14 or over to work for 2 months or so during the summer in various service and agricultural activities, allegedly as vocational education. These are the words of darkness that change into endless night, closing and closing and closing, all doors on their users, tight into dark, closed boxes, boxes of wood, boxes of stone, boxes of zinc, boxes of iron, boxes of steel, boxes of concrete, boxes that are pits in the earth. The words of Dawit Isaak open up and fly. They are other than darkness, like opening, bathing like the sea. Dawit Isaak is kept in darkness. Dawit Isaak lives shut up in darkness, but he also lives in the open light. His words help create. Dawit Isaak lives a free man, imprisoned by power, alone in its darkness. Dawit Isaak lives, shall live in the world. His words shall help rebuild. Dawit Isaak lives.